my name's Prateek, and I am from Dubai originally, but my parents are Indian, so I'm an Indian. Well, I could say right now I'm working in corporate in the finance department. I'm 21 years old. I study at SGH, Warsaw School of Economics. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's me.
I'm Kevi. I'm a music producer, music composer, cinematographer, and I'm currently studying computer engineering at Vistula University. I'm 21 years old and I'm from Jamaica. I think racism is not really a situation where it's directed from hate, but I think it's directed from insecurities.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I believe like seeing everything all over the world and everything, going on, whether it's in the US, whether it's right now over here in Poland, it just comes down to people think that they're superior to you. And racism, in my opinion, is, like Kevi over here said, it does come from insecurities within an individual, whether it is walking down the street, or whether it is in working in a company, or if it is where you're studying, or even in a grocery store, So it's pretty sad to see all of that go down over here, whether it's in this country, whether it's all over the world. And I believe this right now is a platform for us, people of color, to come together, to unify, and to stand up against this, and just try to put the message out there that it is in no way, shape, or form correct for people to treat us like this, because we are also human beings. We have a brain, we have heart, we are all similar individuals, and I believe we should make a strong statement, and that is really what I am looking forward to in the coming years, is how us people of color, we show unity out here in the world, whether it's in a small country like Poland, or if it's in a big country like United States, or I don't know, all over the world, just in general,
What I think about racism is actually a thing of perspective, as it could be viewed as you are the person who makes it possible, because of racism is a individualized opinion on something else. So it's based on how you think you are and what you make them think you are also, and what they think of you. So it's all about perception from different angles. So it could be they don't like you because, and it could be their issue that they're projecting on you. So it's just a reflection of how you perceive racism. In my opinion, racism it's a thin line between curiosity, ignorance, and blatant racism. Some people could be curious and it seems like racism. Some people could be just ignorant and it seems like racism, and there's just blatant racism in itself, by itself.
Yeah.
Every day, there are situations where you're on public transportation and people would rather to, fall on their faces instead of sitting next to the black guy with the only vacant seat left on the bus or on the train. There are plenty of situations like that. And it's very strange in Poland, where it's two different sides of the spectrum, where one day you could be very highly appreciated by people who, never seen a black person before, and it's very exciting and enthusiastic. And there's another day where it feels like you're contagious, as everyone is trying to avoid you, and no one would stop to even, answer your question about directions, because they automatically have a perception that you might be needy, you might be poor, or you need something from them. Not in a sense of conversation or information or help, to find the map or something. It's just they think you need something from them, or you're a threat to society.
Yeah, I have faced similar things when it comes to racism in Poland. But yeah, when it comes down to being in public transportation, or when it comes down to even being at studies, a lot of people think that a younger generation in this country isn't capable of racism, but I feel they are the ones who can actually prevent it, but a lot of people are ignorant towards it.
I think it all starts from parenting also.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's true. When it comes to like racism being in the younger generation or in the older generation, it definitely comes from being from the parents, but also for the fact that if those younger generation and they're like educated people, and if they see like what's happening all around the world, they see how chaotic this place is, or whether it's Warsaw, whether it's other countries, I think this should be like a learning lesson for a lot of younger, because how we can prevent racism is through the younger generation, because they are the ones who are educated and they're the ones who can actually take steps, whether it's mentally or physically, to prevent from what's happening over here.
I think also for drastic changes in racism, it all starts from a systematic point where it's who controls the government of a specific country, a specific city, a specific area, that rules like the jurisdiction towards racism, the laws towards, discrimination and hate. It's very systematic also in Poland, and it's very systematic in other places over the world. So it's like, it's very political, and it also can be changed through political reforms and how people choose to, the government to rule their countries. It's also very important.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel like definitely there's one way to prevent the racism, like you said, is through the government. But with the government status right now, I'm pretty sure for the next upcoming years it's not going to happen because of how biased the government is and how back-minded the government is when it comes to making decisions. I believe they would in no way, shape or form try to promote diversity in their government, and that's where I believe, obviously we have our friends who are protesting all around the country right now, but when it comes to racism, I believe the smallest change and the fastest change that's just going to come is through promoting it within the younger generation, because that's, like I said, it's one of the only forms in which could spread like a fire, which could spread really quick. Because like we saw with the current issues in the country, how the younger generation stepped up, and I feel like if we try to persuade this message all around the younger generation, it's going to spread like a fire, and everyone's going to stand up against racism in this country.
As you said, I think the biggest reform to racism is through education, because without educating the people who are governing your country, it passes down racism in generations. It's based on ideology spread in a mass way. So if your government has similar ideologies and the country shares the ideologies of who governs the country, it's a generational thing of spreading racism in a mass way through schools, through reform, through how they treat people from different countries, through immigration. There's a lot of factors to racism. It starts from education, and it starts from, like, it really is just education, like enlightening people to different people and differences, you know what I'm saying? Racism can come in two forms. To how you assess it is if it's something that directly has something to do with yourself, or it's just someone's perception. So I'm thinking probably it's because I'm black, why this person did this, or it's because of how I look, why this person did this. It's probably how I'm dressed, why this person did this. And then you're thinking also, probably this person is racist because of lack of education, this person did this because of ignorance, or they're just closed-minded, they never traveled, they never seen diversity in any other space. I don't know, it's a mixed emotion of anger and also pity, because you don't know the real intention behind why the person did it. So you don't know if you should feel pity for them or you should feel anger, because some people could do it out of innocence, where they don't understand that what they did was racist, and there's some people who actually did it intentively to be a racist action. So it's like a self-assessment to see if you know why the action took place.
The first time I faced racism, I was actually a minor. I was 15, 16 years old. And for me, it was a really funny incident because at that time I wasn't like really educated enough about like what is racism or if it happens, because I was just this kid who's like 15, 16 years old, walking by the mall, just trying to look for a good pair of shoes, and what happened was I was walking through and there were a couple of people, like a family basically, sitting on the bench. And at that time, a lot of people, like those people, thought that I don't know how to speak Polish, or I don't understand Polish. So they said something in Polish which I understood, and which at that point I was like, oh, these guys are just like whatever. But then when I went back home and I told my mom, like this happened, and she actually made me realize that it was their comments were really racist, and that's when it like really hit me, like, okay, people can really be like that, and they don't fucking like. Am I supposed to? Is it cool? And I was like, it's supposed to be PG-13. Okay, my bad. And okay, so going back, so they don't fucking see like how old is the person, or if he's a kid or not. They just see what their skin color is, and the comments they made were so blatant. Were like, oh, go back to your country, you terrorist, just because I had a beard. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, like if a person has a beard, that doesn't make them a terrorist just because they're so uneducated about how people should look or about how people should act, because they've seen all of that in the news, or like, they've seen, oh, Osama bin Laden was one of the biggest terrorists, and they've seen he had a beard, so they would automatically think that whoever has a beard is a fucking terrorist. But that doesn't make fucking sense, and that's where, like I said before, like we have to educate people on how people look doesn't matter of how they act or who they are as human beings.
The first story that comes to my mind with racism in Poland is probably when I was in the supermarket and a kid was saying to his mom, basically in translation, he was asking his mom if this black guy, if he's from Poland, and then he was asking his mom if this black guy speaks Polish. But his mom was like unresponsive to what he was saying. And then the kid was starting to ask his mom, like, is this black guy from Africa? And his mom still wasn't saying anything. She wasn't trying to educate him that probably what he's saying is like rude, or it's wrong, or it's offensive. So I had to go to his mom to enlighten her that I'm neither the black guy, or I'm not from Africa. And yeah, I do understand Polish, because they have very stereotypical things that they think about black people, which starts the racism, because they don't understand the differences with races. So it's based on the perception of what they see on TV, the propaganda media is the perception that they have of you, and that's what they base their perception of you off of.
Yeah, the woman was straight up being just ignorant, when like we mentioned before, like the youth has to be the one to educate people. And over here in this case, the mother didn't want to educate the child. And well, what happens is when the child grows up, he's going to be in the same headspace.
He's going to have the same ideologies.
Yeah, he's going to be exactly in the same headspace, in the same ideas. He's going to have the same ideas. Oh, like my mother never told me about this, so automatically I should think that a certain way, I should think and feel a certain way about the type of people I'm seeing. And that's not right. That's just disrespectful to us being humans, to the children that are upcoming, and just in general for the future of humanity. That when I was 16 years old, they said, like, go back to your country, you're terrorist. And the word terrorist, in my opinion, is a really strong word when it comes to that. And I am nowhere near that when it comes to, everything that word and the weight that word brings with. And I feel like my parents have raised me so well, whether it comes to having a good personality, whether it comes to having values, moral values, anything, and they've given me the freedom to be who I am today, and I'm very proud of that. And I feel like that was really disrespectful to me, and right now I realize, well, not today exactly, but like in the past couple of years since I've grown up, I've realized like us as people of different race and color have to come together, be one unit, and just, share our stories so that the people out there who are like, you know, who aren't educated enough about this get to see and get to hear our stories, and that would make them just go out there and try to share those stories with everyone, so that, you know, people get educated and they like know, like the children who are upcoming and who are of color, they don't face all of this.
The most stereotypical things are, you know, you're black and you're from Jamaica, you automatically smoke weed, or there's some other things like, you know, you're black so you should do music, or you're black so you should be athletic, or, you know, it's not per se the specific things that they say, because, you know, I kind of block out like negativity, like you're so immune to it being in Poland that the simplest things that you overlook it, like people saying, oh, put the black guy to the front, you might not see him in the photo in the dark, or, you know, some stereotypical things that you might see as funny, but there's like a deeper meaning to it. It's like they don't see it as offensive, but it's just a lack of education, and, you know, it's so deeply rooted in being normalized that they don't even see how disrespectful it is.
Yeah, disrespectful it is. Yeah, no, it's like, for us, like, deep down in the subconscious, you know, you feel like, like, he's my friend, he's just fucking around, you know, like, doesn't matter. But then when you start, like, obviously people tend to overthink, and when you, like, think about that shit, and they're just like, well, in my opinion, he thinks that I am lower than him, that's why he can make those kind of jokes. I mean, okay, if we're, like, that close, and we have this thing, okay, we joke around each other.
But that's the thing, that's what they make you think, that they make you think, but as I'm saying, it's their insecurities that they project onto you, that they make you feel that way, but in reality, they're more insecure of who you are, and, you know, it's just insecurities, in my opinion. I think it's very subjective, meaning it's not the word itself. I mean, the word itself is deeply rooted in culture from where it's coming from. It has many different forms, like Negro, you know? It stems from different things, and even in translation, Moorian, all of these things are still coming from one place, one translated thing. In my opinion, it's really the intent of the word that makes me feel differently about it. If someone that I'm close to probably called me a nigger, I'll probably not feel offended, but in general, I'm not very pleased with the word. I'm not pleased with where the word is coming from, and I think it has a lot to do with cultural appropriation, that people should understand where things are coming from, that it might be a part of rap culture, it might be a part of hip-hop culture, but it's very offensive to a race in general.
Yeah, when it comes to me, because obviously I'm not black, like my parents are not black, so I haven't like really faced that. But when it comes to like my friends, because I also have black friends, and I wouldn't say that to them, because I feel like me being a brown person, my ancestors have faced slavery, and I'm not saying that, oh, your ancestors should or have to face slavery. I'm just saying that you have to be respectful towards a certain human being of certain color, because at the end of the day, we know, like, it goes around the rap culture, it goes around everything, and that's cool if you have close friends. But when it comes to like that word, the N-word, I'm not gonna say it because I don't feel like I should say it, because a lot of people would, you know, take offense to it, and that's cool. Like, if you want to take offense to it, that's your opinion, and I completely respect it. But I feel like people over here think that saying that word is cool, even with people that they're not friends with. Have you faced that? Like, you have like people
I've been walking my dog before, and a guy was riding by on a scooter, and he was saying, "What's up, nigga?"
Yeah, they fucking think it's cool, but I'm sorry, it's not. Like, I'm not being like a narcissistic person right now, but I'm just saying, like, okay, you can say that word in front of your friends who are you close to, that's fine. But when it comes to like walking down the street and hearing someone say that to you, I feel like that's just...
It's like a game changer.
Yeah, it's like it ticks you off, you know, it just like makes you angry.